You're listening to Journey for Truth with internationally known medium, Tai Yi practitioner, and radio host Tami Urbanek.
Hello and welcome to Journey for Truth on iHeartRadio and YouTube. Thank you for joining me. I am Tami Urbanek. Journey for Truth Radio is always on demand. On my website, you can read about the Life Energy Flow Tai Yi treatment, Love Obstruction. This treatment is for those who are in a relationship, entering into a new relationship, or for one who is single. This treatment helps start clearing out the old patterns and difficulties and help two people who are in a new relationship or an older one come to a better understanding and come to, hopefully, a common passion. Also, if you are on Facebook, join the Integrating the Teachings of Jonah group. In this group on Facebook, you can join in the conversation, ask different questions, and learn much information about Jonah's teachings. My guest this week is Hossca Harrison with Jonah Life Institute. Hossca will share with us the difference between the brain and the mind and how it's related to our ancestors. Also, he's going to be talking about the next Denver May Intensive this month, 2017. Most of all, he's going to help us understand what we can do with the information to support us on our continued journey. Hossca, welcome.
Thank you, Tami. It's great to be on your show again.
Now, many say the mind and the brain are the same thing, but you teach differently. What is the difference between the two?
I do. I've been teaching this for over 30 years. You know, if someone were an atheist, I could understand why they would hold that belief that the brain and the mind are one and the same. But for people that believe the soul is eternal, that life continues to exist after death, I do not understand where they're coming from to believe that the mind and the brain are one and the same. The physical body dies, your brain dies. Mm-hmm. You don't have a brain anymore. Then what is communicating? You, other mediums, communicate with the non-physical. You're talking to their mind. They don't have a brain. It's dead. It's been cremated. It's gone. So yes, the brain and the mind are two different parts of the individual, connected by multiple meridians and strings of energy. So the brain comes pre-programmed. It becomes programmed from our ancestors, not necessarily the mind.
So when one carries an addiction, let's say, would they carry or hold that addiction within the brain or the mind?
Could be both. So let's say you come from a family of ancestors that carried the addiction energy. You are going to have a tendency, and it's going to be one of perhaps your struggles in life, to not give in to that addiction. We can use alcohol or drugs or whatever the addiction may be. Your brain may come very programmed to that addiction. Now, where the mind may come with the addiction is if you as an individual, say in your prior lifetime, you battled addictions. And let's say even the addictions brought about your physical death in that lifetime, and you didn't heal it in between lives, and I'm talking in the concept of time that most understand here, and you reincarnate, you still have that energy in your mind of addiction. So it depends on where it came from.
Very interesting. Now, also, you and Jonah have spoke about the lower mind and the higher mind. What is the difference between those two?
The lower mind, the higher mind, Jonah and myself have both spoken, as well as the lower soul and the higher soul as well. It's a higher frequency. The higher soul, the higher mind is a higher vibratory frequency. The lower mind, the lower soul is a lower vibratory frequency. The lower mind, the lower soul is that gets entrapped in the illusion.
And what do you mean by illusion?
You can perhaps study quantum physics. You can study some of the physicists who have talked about how we really do live in an illusion. But people will ask the question, how can this be an illusion? I can tap on a table that's solid. Well, it's not really solid. If you really look at it under very high-powered microscopes, it's not solid. Our reality is not solid. It's solid to us because it matches our frequency, our vibration. So we do live in an illusion. The brain also lives in an illusion. The brain, an individual can look at their history from birth to present, and they can pull up many different memories. But every time they pull up a memory, the memory changes. So the memories keep changing. What are you living? I just wrote an article on this in the last Jonah Life Institute newsletter, that if your past did not exist, who would you be? Well, are we living a false path? Are we living a false path in terms of we've accessed many memories from our childhood, and each time that they change, and now we believe something totally different, and we're trying to heal something perhaps that didn't even occur, and that's why healing is not occurring. A lot of this is what the Jonah Intensive in a few weeks is going to be about.
And then you and Jonah have also taught somewhat on shifting realities, changing realities. So then that new reality becomes the one that we experience life in versus the old one.
Thought creates reality. And again, I could guide you to go back and do some research and study for those that want to on quantum physics and how thought does create. Thought is energy. A reality is energy. All that exists is energy, and all energy carries a consciousness. That is a very fundamental teaching of Jonah since 1984. Your thoughts create a reality. You don't want that reality. That reality is painful. It's very difficult for you. Many then develop the belief, well, this is what I have to deal with. I have to have this reality, and that's simply not true. You can change your thought patterns, but that requires that one's willing to change their beliefs. And there's the kicker. There's the kicker for a lot of people. They have become very invested in their beliefs. They get security out of their beliefs. They get what they think might be love, attention, whatever, out of their beliefs. And so they're not willing to let go of the belief, so they don't change their thoughts. So the reality that they're not content with continues on. They do not change their reality. But that doesn't mean you cannot change your reality.
Right, exactly. And just going back to the concept of living in an illusion, because there might be many listeners who they understand the words, but they're still perhaps not grasping the concept. And one picture that I just thought of is what if a person has an assumption about a particular population, let's say, and they go on and they live their life assuming that this particular population's out to get them or that they're somehow bad people. And really they're making these assumptions, and those people that they're assuming about are just regular folks trying to live their own lives. So that person could be living in this complete illusion about this particular population. Very simple example, but would that be one?
That is misguided beliefs. That is beliefs that have been, whether they are inherited, and beliefs can be inherited through your ancestors, or beliefs that were developed in childhood. A prime example, I think, of perhaps what you are talking about is the Muslim faith.
Right.
How many Christians have been told they're all terrorists, they're all evil? keep them away, kill them over here, kill them over there. I've met many Muslims in my trips to Egypt and Israel and Jordan, and I have met some of the finest people that were Muslims, that were very concerned about their own life and raising their children, putting food on the table, just like people in the United States or throughout Europe. But how many have developed a belief, we can't let Muslims over here, they're going to come and get us?
Right.
Now, that is such a ridiculous, judgmental, and racist view, in my opinion.
Exactly. I agree as well.
And it's the belief controls people and keeps them in a state of fear. So they're obeying their belief of fear.
And a very painful way to live.
Exactly.
Back to the lower mind and higher mind, many would want to connect with their higher mind, which contains our knowledge, our innate wisdom. But what is the difficulty that you see in people not making that connection?
What if your higher mind was in total disagreement with your inherited beliefs or the beliefs you developed in childhood? What's going to prevail? Beliefs or listening to what your higher mind, your higher soul has to offer in terms of guidance to you? You can speak with your guides through someone like you. Well, for the most part, those guides are coming with information from the higher self, the higher soul, the higher mind, to give advice. Now, how often is advice given and it just smacks right against their belief? And they say, well, no, I can't accept that. My belief's more important. Well, they just made a choice. Let's follow the lower mind. It's more convenient. It perhaps is more comfortable. It's more acceptable with my family and friends. Misery loves company, an old statement, unfortunately, that carries a lot of truth.
So again, it goes back to beliefs. And you did you and Jonah offered an intensive on that, a belief worth dying for. And you also offer a book that people could purchase at a very reasonable price to really understand their beliefs and heal those beliefs. And I think that's on your website, correct?
Yes, we are currently sold out of the physical book itself to mail out, but the book is available as a download. And a series of 5 meditations is also available as a download.
Excellent.
On JonahLifeStore.com.
And it is a wonderful resource for anyone who really wants to examine their false beliefs and heal those to their core. Now, you and Jonah have taught that the brain carries a connection to our ancestors. You briefly mentioned it a few minutes ago. How exactly does that work? And again, the brain carrying the connection.
Jonah recently gave a group session. That's where a group of individuals come together and they can ask personal or universal or global type questions. And in that group, Jonah made a statement which I feel is very profound and kind of laid the groundwork in a way for this coming intensive, that the mind belongs to you. Your brain belongs to your ancestors. And I thought, boy, the more you think on that, the more you really ponder that statement, that says a whole lot about our life. And not only what we have experienced, but what we can expect to experience unless intervention by our higher mind comes in. So our brain belongs to our ancestors. The brain arrives pre-programmed. You buy a computer. They put all these different programs in the computer. You open up the computer for the first time, boom, there's all of the programs that were programmed in there. That's what happens to the brain. When the fetus is being formed in the womb, it's being formed through the genetics of the mother and the father, grandparents, their parents, their parents. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You inherit beliefs genetically. You inherit weaknesses and strengths genetically. Your brain comes pre-programmed. And then it has that option of how is it going to respond to the reality it chose. The reality meaning, say you were born in 1960, 1980, or whatever, that reality you were born in, that culture you were born in. Say you were born in France, you were born in the United States, you were born in Beirut, wherever it may be that you were born. You're going to experience the reality customs of that culture in that time with your inherited beliefs. And you got a choice. There's always choice available. You can tune into your higher self, which can transcend those beliefs. That's when you start experiencing joy and peace and what Jonah calls universal tranquility.
Now, also on top of that, science has been showing, does agree, that we genetically will inherit a disease. Heart disease is a big one. Sometimes cancer, addiction has been shown to pass genetically. But what about anger, resentment, even religious indoctrination? Let's say a person who doesn't really go to church. Maybe they stopped going to church at the age of 2, but their family grew up in a church. Can you absorb that within your genetics?
Certainly. You can absorb religious indoctrination from your great-great-great-grandparents. It's still there. It was passed on. When Jonah began in 1984, and he spoke of this. He spoke of how you can inherit consciousness, genetically inherit consciousness and belief systems. Now, back at that time, that was kind of way out there. Most people did not agree with it. They would agree, yeah, you can inherit the weakness for cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever. But no, you can't inherit thoughts and attitudes and different levels of consciousness. Well, it's proving now to be shown that, yes, you can. So, Jonah really knew what he was talking about back then, but how many people really listened to it back then to work with it? Mm-hmm. Had they worked with it then, where would they be now? The same question can be, if they work with it now, where will they be in the future?
Exactly.
Jonah's teachings are about healing. But, Jonah is very direct. He does not play games with the ego. He does not play games with belief systems. He's here to deliver a message. Mm-hmm. Take it or leave it, that's fine. But he's here to deliver a message.
Yes, and there are many out there who have had the opportunity to speak with Jonah and ask personal questions, such as at the groups. Now, I like what you just stated a moment ago, that if you create the change now, where are you going to be some time from now? And that is something that I have brought up to people as well, that in 2 years you're going to be 37 years old. So you can either turn 37 years old still unhappy, still depressed, or you can turn 37 years old in a different state of mind, a different emotional state, but you're still going to be 37 years old. And it goes to what you were stating, that if people choose to really move beyond their beliefs and really learn about this deep information, where are they going to be 2 years from now, 1 year from now, 6 months from now?
That goes back to your question about changing your reality. You can receive advice from Jonah or yourself or some other teacher, and you can use that advice. And as soon as you use it, your life begins changing. But if you collect the advice and you don't use it, you just want to think about it, mm-hmm. then forget it. There is not going to be any change. But you also, I encounter people a lot that go shopping for teachers. They will go to 10, 12 different teachers and see which one teaches what I believe. Which teacher is going to empower my belief system? You're not hunting for healing. You're not looking for change. You're not looking for a better life. You're looking for someone to flatter your ego.
Right.
People don't like to hear that, but that's all right. If I came here simply to tell people what they wanted to hear, there would be no reason for me to be here.
Now, how is all of this connected to the bloodlines of the universe, as Jonah will be teaching in May, this month?
This message, Bloodlines of the Universe, more than any other message, is probably going to, how would I say this? It's going to stretch people's beliefs more than other intensives that he has given. Jonah will deliver very profound information, and then he'll spend some time explaining it, bringing an understanding, how to use it, how to implement it. Well, this is one of those times he's going to bring incredible information. He's going to talk about the existence or the beginning of the existence of humanity. Where did it come from? Now, Jonah has stated that humanity's been here for 300 million years. Every time we look at scientists, they keep backing up the dates. Mm-hmm. 6,000 years. A lot of religious people believe that's when all humanity were created from Adam and Eve. But then you got to look at Pandora. Who created Pandora? It's the same story as Adam and Eve. But a lot of people don't put those together. The Christian God is very similar to the god of Zeus, the ancient Greek god. So, you've got many stories of a beginning, but that's the beginning of a particular age after an extinction has occurred. Mm-hmm. Now, scientists state that we are entering into the 6th extinction. Jonah says we're entering into the 12th extinction. The only difference is the starting date. Jonah has a different starting date than most scientists do at this time. Bloodlines of the universe, they could be called meridians. They could be called strings. I'm not going to say we all know, but many people, I believe, do believe or are aware of extraterrestrials visiting Earth. Way back in the history, you can go through different cultures and their paintings of spaceships and what people that look like astronauts. I'm not going to go into that now. But the point is, these people, these ETs, these beings, whatever label you want to put on them, came to Earth and created humanity. But that's not the key here. Jonah will be talking about that, but that's not the key of the deeper understanding. The deeper understanding is, where do you come from? What lineage, what bloodline do you come from? Why are you the way you are? Perhaps it can even be explained why some are homosexual, others are heterosexual. It can explain why some have very strong likes or dislikes. It can explain why some are very deeply invested in being an atheist and others are very deeply invested in being a fundamentalist Christian believer. There has been talk by scientists of that called the God gene. And there's an element of truth there. And I believe that Jonah will also be addressing the God gene. But it's not just the God gene. The God gene is people who have a very strong attachment to religion. Like, you can't take them out. It's like they're glued to a particular religion. That's called the God gene. and they have isolated that gene. But you have so many other genes that keeps ones where they are. So he's going to be talking a lot about that. Our ancestors, how to work with them, how to work with ourselves, and how to prepare our pathway in reality to one that allows the greatest degree of growth.
It's going to be a fascinating intensive, absolutely. And he also is going to discuss a parallel Earth. Now, what is a parallel Earth and how might that impact us?
Again, if you look back into quantum physics, a parallel Earth, a parallel universe, I find it interesting that many, well, not many, but different science fiction programs come on about now that talk about a parallel Earth, a parallel life, and so forth. To even begin to describe that now, I think we would more than run out of time for the interview. So I will simply say I'm going to leave that for Jonah to describe. If I say just a little bit, people are going to get a certain mindset. It's about this, and Jonah's going to come from this area over here talking about it, and I don't want to create confusion on that.
Exactly, got it. Now, when is the intensive?
The intensive is May 19th, 20th, and 21st. Right now, the discount rate applies of $340 for the weekend, but the discount expires on May 10th, which is next Wednesday at 10 p.m. And after that date, if you're mailing a check, you can have it postmarked up to that date of May 10th, or you can sign up online by 10 p.m. on May 10th. If you wait after that, or you want to pay at the door, the fee, tuition is $400.
Excellent. Where is it located?
The address is 3203 Quebec Street in Denver, Colorado, and that is at the Doubletree by Hilton Hotel.
Wonderful. And then you also just stated that people can register on your website, jonahlifeinstitute.com, using a credit card, debit card, or they can mail a check.
The site that they sign up for the intensive is www.jonahlifestore.com.
Great.
Now, you can go to Jonah Life Institute and click on intensive, and it will take you over to Jonah Life Store. We have two different websites.
Okay.
It's the Jonah Life Store, where you can download messages from Jonah, or buy CDs, or buy books, or pay for the intensive, and so forth. So all of that is available on jonahlifestore.com.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying. Well, thank you so much, Hossca, for being a guest on my show this week.
Thank you, Tami. Great being with you.
And thank you, listeners, for joining me here as well on Journey for Truth on iHeartRadio and YouTube. Until next time, have a fantastic week.